Here's 5th grade, lesson 9 from module 4. And what we're looking at today is going through and using the multiplication with a fraction that we've been doing and a whole number to kind of calculate when you are changing a unit from one thing to another and figuring out parts of units. So when we take a look at their examples right here, this is saying 1/4 of a yard, 1/4 of a yard is equal to, and it's saying right here, how many inches? So here's the process that they went through. They said 1/4 of a yard is the same as 1/4 times a yard, because the of makes the multiplication. And then because they want to go to inches, they're changing 1 yard to inches to start with. And so we would know it's like 1/4 times 1 is 1/4, right? But we're going from the yard to the inches. That's why we have to change it. And now if we say 1 times 36, we get 36 over 4. 4 goes into 36, because remember reading it as a division problem upside down. 36 divided by 4 happens to be 9. So let's take a look at their example that they did partially for us. Part of it's here to walk us through. 1/4 of a foot is equal to how many inches? And they're showing us that we're going to convert from a foot, here's 1 foot, and we're going to change it to inches. And so if we're going to say 1 times 12, 6 times, this has got a 1 under it, right? Because it's a 12. 6 times 1. So this ends up being like this. 12 divided by 6. Here's our 12, and they've divided it into 6 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So now if you think about it, if each one is worth a certain amount, it's going to get us to our 12. So if we do this division problem, 12 divided by 6, we know it's going to be a 2. So let's test it out and see if it's real. If each one of these is worth a 2, then it should equal to 12 when we're done, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. But they only want to know how much 1/6 is. And I see that 1/6 of it happens to be 2 inches. So let's scroll on down a little ways, get to one that's a wee bit more complicated. Let's take a look at F here. So on F, we see that we have 2/3 times 1 yard. And what we're going to be doing is changing it. 2/3 of, how many inches happen to be in a yard? 36 of them. So now we're going to say 36 over 1, and it's inches now. So we've changed the unit, which resulted in a change in the number we're working with. So now we can think about this cross cancellation thing. Remember, 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 3 once, and into 6 twice. So that gives us a 12. And you know that 1 times 1 is 1, so that's the denominator, but we don't even need it because it's just a 1. 2 times 12 gets you 24. And so now let's do a tape diagram to see if that's real. So what we have here is a yard, and we're breaking it according to this into thirds. So let's do that. Breaking it into thirds. And each one of those, it says here, is for 2/3. It has to add up to 24. So we know that if this one is 12, this one is 12, that gets us that 24. Because that is 2 out of 3, or 2/3. So here, what we have is all of it, which 10, 20, 30, 2, 4, 6. We know that the whole thing is a yard, or 36 inches. But we only want 2/3. So we know that here's a foot, 2/3. Let's cruise on down. We'll take a look at this one right here. At the market, Mr. Wynn bought 3/4 of a pound of grapes and 5/8 of a pound of cherries. So it's asking us how many ounces of grapes did Mr. Wynn buy? So we know that it's going to be 3/4 of a pound. LB stands for pound. And we can make that 3/4. Oops, that should be a 4, not times. The times goes here. Times 1 pound. There's my L for LB. And we know that we are getting into ounces, according to this. So you can look on your chart if you need to for stuff like that, because it's got the information in your math reference sheet in your homework folder. Times, I know that there happens to be 16 ounces in a pound. So we've just taken this 1 pound, and it's still a pound. It's just a different way of measuring it, that's all. Now what we can do is look at this, and I know that 4 goes into itself once, 4 goes into 16 4 times. And so we know that 3 times 4 happens to be 12 ounces. So if you wanted to kind of show what's that going to look like, so we're figuring out, here's your 1 pound. We call it 16 ounces. And it's asking us 3/4 of it. So let's break it into fourths. 3 lines get you 4 spaces. We want to figure out how much is in here. And so if you kind of think about it, 16 divided by 4, 16 divided by 4, because we did that. Here's 16 and we divided it by 4. We know 4 goes into it. 4 times 4 is 16. There is no difference. So that's true. So each one of these squares is worth 4. Now how much is 3 of them worth, right? Because 3/4. 3 times this right here. 4 plus 4 is 8 plus 4 more is 12. So that's the magic thing. You can't think that your answer is 4 because it's actually how much is each of these parts worth. And you need to figure out how much 3 of those parts comes together. So the answer then is 12 ounces. Just like we got. Right here's your 12 ounces. Okay. So one more, how many cherries? If we're looking at cherries, we know it's 5/8. And I'm going to go ahead and just turn it into the multiplication that we know it's going to be. It's going to be 16 ounces because it's 1 pound. And I know 8 goes into itself once, 8 goes into 16 twice, and we know that 5 times 2 is 10. So the answer in that case is going to be 10 ounces. We can double check this because we've got, here's our big rectangle that is worth, the whole thing is worth a pound, 16 ounces, and we're breaking it into eighths. So we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 spaces to get you 8 of them. And we're looking to see how much 5 of those spaces is worth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. We'll clump those together. And so what are we doing? We're saying 16 ounces divided by 8, because it's eighths is your denominator. And we know it goes in twice. 2 times 8 gets us that 16. So each one of these is going to be worth 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those units happens to be worth a total of 10 ounces. So these match. So we must be good. All right. So what I'm going to give to you for your homework today. V's right here. And I'm going to ask you to pick either one or two. Pick number 1 or 2A, B, C. Sound okay? All right, thanks. See you tomorrow.